Absolutely perfect. All right, guys, so a while back, I got really excited because I was talking to the owner of Alfissimo International. That's where I order a lot of my parts from. His name is Jason, and he was telling me, because at the time he had access to the spoiler from the Giulia Alfa Romeo Racing Edition Quadrifoglio. And I got really excited about that because that was something that I was looking for, but that's for another video. And at that time, he was telling me, I'm working on getting the tune for the ECU suspension, or the suspension ECU module from the GTAm. So basically the suspension settings, the damper settings from the GTAm to plug into any Giulia Quadrifoglio. And I got really excited because I have ST springs, and I don't even remember what stock felt like, but ST springs, the lowering springs, are way too bouncy. Once they're broken in and everything, or once you're on it for a while, you start to get really annoyed with all the bouncing, or at least I did. Really bouncy, kind of harsh, not matching up with the damper settings and the tune of the ECU, suspension ECU on the stock Giulia Quadrifoglio. So when you told me that, I got really excited. So I put in a pre-order, and then we found an ECU module that had to be a certain type. I'll show you that in a second, to get to him so that he could put the tune on it. So he does like an exchange program. So if you have the right ECU module, you can send yours in and he'll give you one back that's tuned. If you don't have the right ECU module, because some of the cars have a slightly different version, I'll show you that in a second again, then you have to source one, or he'll source one for you actually. So that took a moment, but he just hit me up and said that the ECU module is in, and I'm gonna go pick it up. I actually live sort of close to him, so I don't have to do the shipping thing. It's just faster to do it this way. So I'm gonna go grab that from him, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so the suspension module is located right under the cover in your trunk, and you're just gonna plug this guy into there and bolt it down. I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, so the swap is done, but this is my original ECU module. So it has a C right there, and the one that we needed has a D right there. So if you go in your trunk and you check, and right in this right-hand corner it has a C, then you're gonna have to source one with a D. Talk to Jason, he'll get one for you. And that's what took a little bit of extra time with mine, is we had to source one with a D, but then it was a quick swap, no big deal. This is a little extra cost when you have to order one of these, doubles the cost pretty much, but it is so worth it over completely ordering a new set of coilovers. This was the exact change I was looking for. Definitely worth it, definitely do it, even if you have to order another one of these. Honest first reaction, the car is perfect. There is zero bounce, zero oscillation. Like, I'm speechless. It's perfect. In every setting, everything is slightly stiffer. Like even the soft setting feels more stiff, but quiet. In the medium set, every setting has the same kind of behavior, which is firm and quiet, as in not a lot of bounce. Let's see how it reacts to a little bit more pushing. But the soft setting is like really smooth. The medium setting, which is what I'm on right now, is perfectly planted. I don't even know why I would go into the hard setting at this point, but let's do it. I gotta get out of this traffic and stop holding my phone like a fucking idiot. But I got excited and I didn't have my setup properly. I mean, the race mode feels stiff. There's a big bump, perfect amount of oscillation, barely any. It's stiff. Guys, this is exactly what you want in your suspension. It feels like a completely new car. Oh my God. Okay, did a little bit more pushing. Obviously didn't film that with one hand. Medium mid damper setting is absolutely perfect. I could not imagine better suspension feel for performance. The race or hard setting is, it's the same exact thing. It's just slightly harder, so it's slightly bumpier. So we'll see how that reacts like on a track and in corners and stuff like that. But like with the stock car, you know, rolling around in race damper was never really comfortable on normal roads. So I imagine it's improved. So I did a little bit more cornering on all modes, and it is night and day difference. I had no idea how bad the car felt on the ST springs, because that's all I had driven on, or I've driven on for over a year, so that's just my normal. But I did remember that like stock, the car felt a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot more comfortable to drive in. This thing feels sharp as hell. I am so pumped on this. I haven't even gotten to like the overview part yet, but like I can already say, like, if you don't have stock suspension, or probably if you have stock suspension, this is the best upgrade you could put for your Giulia suspension. If you have a Quadrifoglio, I'm blown away. All right, so I took the car to a track. So it's been about a month since I installed the suspension upgrade, and then I went to Sonoma Raceway shortly after that. Really got to test it out. I have a few notes as far as the installation goes, and how this will work out for you if you want to do the mod. It does require a proxy alignment. So once I drove a little bit longer, I think it was like the next day, my odometer starts blinking, and that means you have to do a proxy alignment because some computer module is not being recognized by the car. So I did that. You can go to a dealer to do that. I'm going to talk about this in another video, but you can also do that at home. I've been using OBD readers with a SWG, so security gateway module or modification thing that allows you to use OBD readers on this car and to clear codes and stuff like that. So I have been doing that. You also need a special cable in order to do a proxy alignment. So it's a little bit more complicated, might not be worth it for most people. I'd probably just go to a dealer or go to someone who has that, maybe not a dealer, but a shop that can just do a proxy alignment. It's pretty easy. Like, it wouldn't cost a lot of money or anything. It's very, very simple. Just, you gotta have the tech. So once that was done, went to Sonoma Raceway. My honest impressions of the car on a racetrack are actually a little bit different than I imagined. It's not super fair because I was comparing it to my buddy's GT4, which is a completely different car, engineered in entirely different ways for entirely different purposes. But I definitely was a little disappointed with the weight of the car being so noticeable on the track. Sonoma Raceway is a pretty technical course, so it's not the best track for a car like this. So you really feel a lot of the weight transfer. But I mean, it was something that, I'm also like new to the track and stuff, so it's a lot of car still to handle. So I'm going to do some more track days before I really make the call on what I'm going to do for my official track day car. Might do a different car entirely, not getting rid of this car. This car is amazing. But yeah, it's definitely not built for the track, you can tell. But it's great on the track. It really is. I can't imagine if I had gone to the track without this suspension mod. It would have been a nightmare. I would have hated it so much. Once the ST springs, you've been on them for a while,
They're very bouncy. They do not behave correctly. They do not perform well at high speeds. And I can say that with a lot of confidence because with this ECU mod and how much quieter and better the suspension was, I can even stay still. It's not perfect on the track. I would want something even stiffer. This is obvious. Anyone who's been to a track knows what I'm talking about. The things that you want on a track are very different than the street. But I will say I'm very happy I did this mod, especially before the track, because it was able to tame the suspension down, stiffen it up, and make the car a lot better. So I'm really happy I did this. The only thing that I could imagine that would be better is obviously doing the KW full coilover kit and making it really stiff for the track only. For the street, I don't imagine why you would ever do that if you're not going to track the car. This is an amazing modification. I will say on the track, obviously, race mode becomes a lot more important. So I was running it in race most of the time, but I did start off in D mode to get accustomed to the car and the power and stuff on the track. And because you can't run full stiffness or race damper settings in D mode, I really didn't like it until I switched to race mode. And if you know the car, it's not that big of a deal on a track. You're not gonna like just lose the car because you accidentally give it too much power. You're being careful. But I did the suspension, or I went into race mode, and then the suspension mod became even more apparent, and everything was so much better. You need to be in race mode, in my opinion, on the track to really actually push the car. Probably with any suspension that you have, it's probably the best idea. But with this mod, especially, it was a big difference. And everything that I said in my first impressions holds true, except for the part about maybe being on a track. It's not perfect. It's not stiff enough. But if you're on a track, you want a fucking race car. So that's not this. This can still drive home and be incredibly comfortable 500 miles later. So I'm really happy with this suspension mod. If you are going to track the car and you don't want to do the full coilover kit, which costs $4,000 plus, this is the only move you should make. If you have lowering springs, you should make this move immediately because they're garbage, trust me. And if you just want to have a better car in general, I think this is just a really good idea. But there is actually, so Jason at Alfissimo told me that he's actually making a spring that, because he was trying to get the GTAm springs but couldn't get the fronts, or couldn't get the rears or something like that, he decided to make his own that mimic the same like spring rate and everything. So he's developing his own. I think they'll be made in Italy. Don't quote me on that. But I think that's what he said. They will basically be not as low as the ST spring. They'll be like a 10 millimeter drop from the 2017 spring, I think he said. And they will have the appropriate spring rate for the dampers so that they'll be a more perfect match for this damper or suspension ECU mod. So that's really exciting. I'm probably going to do that. Unless I decide to go full-blown track build on this car, then I'm going KW. But I will most likely actually get the springs that he makes because, one, the front of the car is a little bit too low as it is with ST springs, even though I like it. So I think the big difference will be it'll raise just the front a tiny bit, which will be good. And then it'll have the appropriate spring rate and everything for the ECU mod. So it'd be a perfect match, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. If you're on the Giulia forums, I'm sure you'll see that being posted when it's ready, because I don't think it's ready, and that's not really my business, but it is exciting. So there's that spring on its way. The ECU mod through Alfissimo is the move. Go do it.